I think the chief has got a very, very interesting message. I think, Chief, I believe you were our guest about 12 or 14 months ago, so he's back. And we certainly welcome him. Having been chief now, I believe, is it 3 years?
Yes.
Just over 3 years. So I've gotten to know him a little bit, and certainly I would like to feel that DSCA, Peter, and our crew have tried to have a very collaborative relationship with the police department. So I'm not going to do a lot in terms of introduction. In 3 years, I think we've gotten to know the chief. So maybe I invite you up here, Chief Troche. Welcome to DSCA. And I think you know that the camera here is kind of a fisheye. So if you kind of bob back and forth, you'll get the.
This is the best place to stand?
This is probably the best place.
All right.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I've been on tour the past year. I'm back in this country now. I was in Europe touring. It's been a while. I feel like I haven't slept since Saturday, so forgive me if I'm a little lethargic. We've had a lot going on in the city. I had to break out my phone headset because I've just been on the phone probably since Saturday afternoon till today. It's just been a lot of things going on in the city, not just a storm. We have crimes going on in the city, and my phone rings 24/7, 365, but it's part of the job. All right, and I'm actually 30 years old. I know I look like I'm 60. Do we have a power? Where's the power? I want to fire up the PowerPoint. So initially, as David said, hi everybody, it's my hand. Initially, we talked about some of the things that we're moving into the future, and we wanted to become a smart city, or smarter city, be more efficient, use technology to our advantage. So what we are in the process of initiating is a real-time operations center. I'll call it the ROC from here on in, and it's really a wave of the future. So next slide. So essentially, picture NORAD under a mountain in Colorado somewhere, some secret location. That's what this place is gonna look like. It's gonna be about 2,000 square feet. It'll be in our building. And basically we'll be able to hear and see things that we've never been able to do in the past. So our core philosophy here is, why are we creating the ROC? Well, we're about community safety, officer safety, and keeping Sarasota prosperous, right? So those are the main reasons we're here to do that. Next slide. The Real-Time Operations Center, we're trying to, we already do intelligence-led policing as it is, right? We're looking at data, we're looking at hotspots, we're taking our personnel, and we're putting them in those hotspots. But this, well, that's happened. This really increases our ability to be intelligence-led.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is that outside right now? That's great.
Zoom does not do well this live.
Yeah, no Zoom. Yeah. I can just go up. I can just wing it. I can wing it. There were some cool videos on here that I wanted you all to see. So as we try to figure that out. So we knew that the time has come where we can now leverage technology more so than in the past. So in the past, if you were to create an infrastructure, a city would have to take it upon itself to invest $3 to $4 million potentially every year because of the way technology is. We have the ability now via companies who are now in competition to leverage cameras that are already in existence. For example, 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven has 14 cameras around their business to include inside their business. We have the ability, using a box probably twice the size as this, to plug into their system. We'll automatically be in their store inside our real-time operations center. What that does for us is if there's a 911 phone call, we can immediately go into those cameras and see what's happening in real time. Ergo, real-time operations center, right? It's a game changer. And it helps us because the real-time operations center, we back up and running. Okay. It'll help us during the initial stages. So let's say that there's a a robbery at the 7-Eleven, we can go right into those cameras and look in real time. We don't have to worry about that person 10 minutes later calling 911, talking to a dispatcher. Dispatcher gives it to frequency one, who's the main dispatcher, who has to filter that information. We can do this all in real time. We have crime analysts that will be in there giving that information out. So it'll help us in the beginning and in the middle stages. Because now, once we start to gather information, we have crime analysts in there that can say, hey, Jim Jones, hey, that person has a warrant, that person's known to carry a firearm, beware. Also, they're in on the cameras. That person just jumped in a black Lincoln Continental. They're northbound on 41. We just picked them up on this camera. We just picked them up on this camera. And so we can start setting a perimeter on that as well. The other thing we can do now moving forward is monitor our critical infrastructure. So the city has cameras at their facilities. We can now monitor that in here. So if we're looking at targets like the bridge or our water infrastructure or City Hall, we can have eyes and ears, but no one can see us. So we can start developing plans if there's some issues that we need to address immediately. All right, next slide. All right, so it is going to provide real-time intelligence for us. Some things that we've done in the past where we have search warrants, let's say SWAT's involved. As commanders, we've had to just listen to the radio and wait for that intelligence to come back once they've executed the search warrant. No more. Those days are over. We send a drone over the house. It's called Overwatch. We sit in the command center and we can now watch everything from the sky in real time. We then click into the body cameras of anybody that we want, and we're now hearing and seeing information in real time. So this has really helped us immensely. We also take drones, put them in the house, they fly around the house, and now we don't have to worry about officers going into situations where there's people that are armed. So that really is an officer safety advantage for us, and it's an information advantage for us because I don't have to worry about somebody filtering out information. We're making decisions, again, in real time. Our special events in the city, New Year's Eve, as we all know, it's a party here in the city of Sarasota, right? But what people don't realize is it adds 20 years to my life. It is a very dangerous situation. You have in range of 30 to 40,000 people in our city, all congregated probably within 2 to 3 feet of each other. There's a lot of potential for issues there. So now we'll be flying our drones over. That'll give us real-time information in the center, and then we're able to make decisions again in real time, unlike before. So it's an amazing deal. Support disaster response activities. So as you all know, we just had major flooding in our city. Well, what we've been able to do now is we throw drones up in the air. We don't have a helicopter that costs $3.5 million, $1.8 million every year to keep it going. So we put drones up and we're getting high definition, 4K, real time into our command center, into our command post right now. And again, we're able to make decisions in real time. There's areas that we could not send people into. Those drones can get into that area. So again, we're already leveraging that, but in the future, it'll be much better with crime analysts on scene. And then again, we'll have crime analysts in the facility. They'll be communicating information to our law enforcement partners like FDLE, Sarasota County Rescue, Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. And in this case, just recently, we had to rely on Northport. Remember a couple of years ago, Northport got hit with their hurricane. We sent a lot of help over there. This year, I made the phone call as soon as we knew we were in trouble with the flooding, and they brought a team of personnel and vehicles to help us out. So it was amazing. But again, that communication will be enhanced with a real-time operations center. Next slide. So here's another bit of technology. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. It's called gunshot detection. It's a little bit, controversial in some areas. The companies that we've been talking to, they actually call it noise detection. So here it says, it'll locate gunfire. It'll determine if there's backfire from a vehicle. But the companies that we've been talking to, because it's noise detection, it'll help us with car crashes. So if there's a car crash in an area, hasn't even been reported yet, that technology will let us right away know in the real-time operations center, and we can start looking at sending units over there immediately. So again, time is of the essence. We understand it, and we're leveraging technology. Next slide. Okay, so staffing for right now, it's going to be staffed by 4 people. It will be 5 days a week. The hours are going to be determined on the data. So we're going to look at the times at which most of our most violent crimes or critical incidents are occurring, and that's how we're going to staff this operation. The goal is to be 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That is the goal, and I'm sure we're going to get there. All right, next slide. And here's an example. I don't know if you can hover over this with your mouse and click it. That is a video. Does everybody recognize this area? That's a pineapple drop.
No video.
Can you hover right there on it? It won't come up. A little to the right, like right in the middle of it. Won't let you do it. Okay, so I'll reenact it. This was, it was video just showing the crowd. We had what we call Overwatch. Overwatch was over the crowd. And if anything were to happen in this group of about 30,000 people, we'd be able to lower the drone, get a better visual, and then units responding to those areas would be getting real-time information from the drone unit pilots. In the future, that will be going into the real-time operations center, and they'll be able to give that information. Next slide. Okay, if you click on that one, that's a video. Okay, so this was a burglary suspect. We were called out to this area. This is real, by the way. This is the drone already facing the bad guy. We had information that he was committing a burglary in the area of a residence. So we set up contact teams behind him. The drone is in front of him. What's good about that is we can see his hands here, where in the past we could only see his back. Now we're getting real-time information if he's reaching for a weapon or not. So you'll see that he'll come to a point, he'll be stopped by the contact team.
They're talking to him.
They're talking to him. Contact team's guiding him back to the car. Keep coming to the sound of my voice. Keep coming to the sound of my voice. Stop. Knees, get on your knees, get on the ground. And again, the drone is letting us see more than we normally could see. And the operator of this drone is in the back of one of those trucks. He's going to be proned out here.
What's that?
Proned out is hands out by his side. His legs should be out, but I'm sure he's not totally being compliant at this point. This is a contact team coming up. You'll see that we have shields. That's something we have not had in the past, right? We have been building on that and growing on that. These are lessons that we have learned from other active shooter scenarios. And you'll see immediately they're looking long. You see that? You see that? They're 360 on the bad guy, and then they're looking long because there is another burglar in the area. So they're making sure that they have the people on the ground, putting that subject in custody. They're making sure that they have cover. So you have a really well-trained police department. I'll tell you that right now. We're all about training. We're training centric for sure. Okay, next slide. So this one is, if you want to click on it, maybe it's over here. Yep. So this is a traffic stop of a stolen vehicle. The driver of the stolen vehicle takes off on foot. We set up a perimeter, and this is K9's body-worn camera, and you'll see the puppy. There's actually volume on this.
The dog is the camera?
No, it's the K9 officer has a camera on his chest, and the dog does a track and jumps over this 6-foot fence and got the guy right there. I could smell him behind the fence. So again, this is information that will be streamed into the real-time operations center. That information will be given out in real time to other officers so they understand what's going on. We all love K9, right? They're amazing. Okay, so from an analytical standpoint, there's going to be 4 crime analysis personnel in this office, and they will be accessing all this information in real time. Why is that important? It's important to know that who we're dealing with. You know, is it a terrorist? Is it someone who's known to shoot at police? Is it someone that we know is super dangerous? They're running all this information here. Flock. Have we heard of Flock? Has anybody heard of Flock? Okay. LPRs. Anybody heard of license plate readers? So it's amazing technology. A couple of years ago, we had 6 homicides in 8 weeks, and we solved all those homicides utilizing Flock technology. people were not coming to us with a lot of information, but we're able to put information into the computers looking for certain vehicles. They pulled up the descriptions of vehicles. We were able to ascertain license plates, and that's what gave us our leads in solving these crimes. So that's amazing technology. So next slide. So this is what a dashboard would look like for one of the crime analysts, their computer. The green areas are where you have cameras, whether it's a body worn camera that you can tap into, or if it's a camera at an intersection. So if they got a call for service and they saw the bad guy was going this way, they could start tapping into those cameras in real time and see where they're at, giving us updated information. So really, the days of pursuing people, we've really kind of brought that down. First off, because of the volume of people that live in the city of Sarasota. It's just not safe. We have the technology where we can get that information and get ahead of those people and either put stop sticks down or follow them into apartment complexes without them knowing we're following them, because we're using our artificial intelligence, we're using our cameras, and then in the past we've been able to arrest them as they sit in their cars. So again, this is information that the analysts are looking at, and then they're relaying that information to the officers in real time. Next slide.
So are most of those fixed cameras? They're not officers?
It's a mix. So you have officers' cameras. So in other words, if you have an officer on a traffic stop and the crime analyst, keys on that. Okay, traffic stop. Let me run that tag. Oh, that person's wanted for murder. Now that crime analyst can tap into that officer's screen, make sure that they see what they're seeing, tap into a camera that's possibly in that corner and have overwatch instantaneously, and then start having other units make their way over there without alerting the bad guy.
And you got facial recognition software?
And we have facial recognition software as well. Yeah, so it's amazing. So we've been given demos, a company, they pulled it out of Minnesota, some of this information, where they had a bad guy, a description was put into the system. The AI narrowed it down to 10 people within 24 hours that had been in that area matching that. They were able to look into that. Okay, that's our bad guy. They then take the bad guy's information. They ask the computer, tell us where this person was last picked up on a camera. Boom, here it is. They go there he is. We just had a homicide not too long ago where we had information on the vehicle, the bad guy. We put that information into our systems. We were able to track his car from here to Orlando, from Orlando to Miami. We called Miami Police Department. They set up on the car. He came out of an apartment, which we already knew that he had a relationship with because of the analysis that we're able to do now. Miami PD was waiting there when he came back to the car to arrest him. So the technology is everywhere right now. We're not the first of the party, but we're not the last of the party. So it's out there. This is something that we're looking at. It allows teachers, administrators in schools, if there's an issue within the school, to immediately hit one of these for fire, for police, for medical reasons. It'll come up on our officers' computers, and then we're able to immediately go out there and help like that. Again, it's removing the filter. Next slide. Again, this is a license plate reader. I want you to see this stat though. So in 2023, as of August of 2023 to today, we've recovered 171 stolen vehicles using our flock system, and that's just 36 cameras. We've recovered 57, 50-something recovered plates, 62 wanted subjects, 21 firearms, just using this system, and then made over 283 arrests and recovered over $303 million in recovered value between vehicles, stolen property, et cetera. So, I mean, the system really does pay for itself in that regard. Next slide. These are some of the open source intelligence that they'll be using. Everyone thinks it's all secret NSA stuff. Well, guess what? People put way too much information on their social media stuff. They really do. Hey, I'm leaving for Colorado in a week. No one's going to be home. Hope you guys don't miss me. Why would you put that out there, right? And then they wonder why they come home and there's people living in their house, okay? So we tap into that, and people who love firearms, guess what? They're on pictures holding these firearms, and in some cases, it's the same firearms that they use to commit the crime. Not smart. It just blows my mind. So they'll be tapping into the open source as well. Next slide. So this will be another computer screen. So if we have, let's say, a crime in progress, the crime analyst will start getting on their social media. They'll start tapping into cameras. They'll look at maps of where they may go, and then they'll tap into the screen where you see all the available cameras. And the way the system works, it's amazing, because it will start showing you all the cameras available as that vehicle is moving. Once you've queued that vehicle into the AI, it will start showing you what cameras to tap on in order to continue to see those vehicles. So it's just amazing technology. Next slide. All right. Some of the companies that we're talking with have worked with Homeland Security, NSA. So that technology that they've probably had that's probably considered old for the last 10, 15 years is new to us, and it's pretty amazing. I've been blown away by the presentations that they've given us, and it was only going to benefit our city. It's only going to make it much safer. And it's not, again, it's not just crimes in progress. It's critical incidents like we just had recently. It's major events. We have our New Year's Eve events, and we've been known to host future presidents or VIPs over at Robarts, where we've had 30,000 people packed into a place. And as we all know, it's kind of important to have a drone at, you know, these events. So we are technology driven, and we think this is the next step into the future for us. So, any questions on the rock?
Yeah, let's start with board members. Any questions going around the table? Peter, Kenny.
With this new technology, I suspect you have an abundance of privacy issues with regard to taking pictures that include non-perpetrators, innocent citizens in the photograph. Two questions about that. Is there a way to redact that, and how long do you keep that information on file?
So if you're in the public, you're in the public. There is no expectation of privacy in the public. So we really don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
How long do you keep the files?
So it could be as long as 365 days. Some of that will be depending on the type of crime that was committed. Do we keep it for 1 year or 5 years? So that's all under Chapter 119 of Florida State Statute. Good question.
What's the integration between Sarasota County and city and?
Great question.
Well, yeah.
Great question, because
And
we
then
never like playing well together for whatever reason. I have no idea. They get Glocks, we get Glocks, and they get Smith and Wessons. It's just always been the way. So that's what we're trying to do different this time, right? So because we're all government entities, we all have to put, you know, requests for purchase and lower bidder and things of that nature. But the hopes is that we're all going to be on the same system. That is the goal for me. Because for me, if we're all in the same system, that's a force multiplier for us. And it's only going to make Manatee County Sheriff's Office stronger. It's only going to make us stronger. And the ability that we're going to have at that point is we can go with our crime analysts right into Manatee's system and get reports. We can even get body camera information. It's amazing. And you're only limited by your imagination. So I know Manatee and us, we have been talking because they already have their version of what we're talking about. So we have gone there and said, hey, what have you learned? What would you not do? What would you do better next time? We're trying to learn from their mistakes instead of making our own. We've been in talks with Clearwater, Lee County. I mean, we've gone from small agencies to really big agencies to find out. But that is the goal, is let's start communicating better. And then the bad guys know no boundaries, right? The bad guys don't care if it's Manatee County. They don't care if it's Sarasota County, City of Sarasota. They're going to commit their crimes wherever. Whereas those walls sometimes impede us from our investigations. So the goal is to be on the same system, 100%. And the technology is there, for sure.
Dina?
I have a question specifically about the gunshot detector, but I think it may be applicable to other technology you've talked about. And so my question, there's, a couple. What is the process you follow to determine how many of those detectors, ideally, if money were no object, that you would like to purchase? And once the reality of how many you can purchase is made clear, how do you then determine your priorities of where to place this equipment?
All right, good question. So we look at the data. The data is what always drives us. So the data is telling us that this kind of technology can do just under a mile of information, and they put all these little antennas up, and they're able to pinpoint where that gunshot detection came from. We already have one area. We think we're just going to need one of those units in order to help based
In the
on
whole city?
based on our data. Now, if we did the whole city, they're $30,000 a year for one. So if we
No,
did,
that's why
so if we
I
did the
asked
whole
that
city,
question.
we'd be in the multi-millions for that. But the data is telling us certain areas have more shootings than others. So why would I put one in an area that has 0 shootings? You know, my job is to be super efficient with the money.
So far you've only identified one area where you
Yes.
think, wow, that 1 mile?
Yep.
So just tell me the mile, I'll stay away.
We'll talk later.
And Chief, one thing we talked about
Yes, sir.
last week was the opportunity to plug into condo building security systems. Talk to what would you like to do? What, you mentioned kind of a black box.
Correct.
Is it that simple as far as somebody buying a
That's what the sales
Three.
guys are telling me.
$500
Yeah.
black box?
Yeah, so we're talking to a couple different companies that are in this space right now, and we're trying to make sure that we leverage them against each other, right? Isn't that how it's done in negotiations? So it's simple. Both have a little black box that they use. You're able to connect it into their system. Now, some may cost more than others. I think for one of the companies, a limit is 6 cameras per box, and they're about $300 to $500 a year for the boxes. But it is as simple as that, is what they're telling me, that it's just simple plug and play, and that unit will automatically talk into our system. And we know that's a fact because there's other agencies that are using these companies. So we know that that's a reality. So when I talked about businesses, I would look at condo associations, condos as a business, and we want to make sure that we could tap into these systems. Again, the way it would look in my mind's eye is our crime analysis during the slow part of the night, start clicking away, looking, or there are motion alerts in certain systems, so that if there is a motion detected, it would come up immediately on the screen. They'd be able to look, oh, that's a bird, it's a plane, it's not Superman, we move on, right? But if they see somebody that's suspicious, now we start taking, again, proactive steps, trying to get ahead of things. It's amazing.
Yeah, Dave.
Technology is obviously there, and it's great that we're using it. You mentioned that you're going to start with 5 days a week. I mean, bad guys only work 5 days a week, or why couldn't you have, I'm telling you how to manage your staff, but fewer people working 7 days a week to cover, is it a labor situation?
Well, I'm already thin to begin with on that front with 4 people. I can barely, the bandwidth just is not there, right? Now, I want to prove to the city that we can do it, and there's certain things that they've asked and some concerns about it. So we want to show that this is a reality, that we're going to really use this thing. And so we're going to babysit. Yes, you're right. Bad guys don't care about 5 days a week, 7 days a week, but I only have so much bandwidth that I can do this in order to do it correctly. Great question. Yes, sir.
I have a brother he's retired, he's been in law enforcement 30 years. So I appreciate what you guys did. My family, I was smart enough, I went to the fire department.
So smart.
Just how it
I'm an
works out.
idiot.
And I think you guys are underpaid and underappreciated and probably undermarketed. However, one question that jumps out to me is, are you running a dual system now? You have your regular dispatch system and this rock system?
It's a good question. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So I think that's a misnomer here, and I think I get that all the time. We do not have a dispatch center. Sarasota Police Department does not have a dispatch center. So when you call the dispatch, when you're calling the non-emergency line or the 911 line and you're mad because it's not happening fast enough, that's not us. That's the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. About 30 years ago, Sarasota PD, for whatever reason, the powers that be was probably cost at that point, gave that up to Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. So no, this wouldn't be dual. This would just be an addition for us. Now, one thing I like to touch upon, I'm glad you brought it up, is there's a new program that we'll have. It's called Real-Time 911. So now what we'll be able to do is the officers on their phones will hear the 911 phone call in real time when it comes into the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. They'll be hearing it as a dispatcher, the call taker's hearing it in real time. So now the officers can determine at that point if they really need to start sliding over, is this real? Or is this something that can hold based on what I already have going on because I'm prioritizing? What's great is that the way the system works, it comes into the call taker, they listen, gather information. Well, this is time wasted that we could be sliding over there. Then it goes to the dispatcher and sits in a queue. And then as all those other calls are getting dispatched, this one might still be down here. The beauty of real-time 911 is it's geo-fenced. The officers already have their geo-fence established in the computer system. So as soon as it comes out, it queues up on their computer or phone. It might be out of the car, so it queues up on their phone. They're listening and they're getting that information. Why that's important is because sometimes the call takers filter out information that's important to us. Because many times we go to calls and we think it's one thing and it's something else. And that's just human, right? We're just filtering out what we think is important. So the real-time 911 is a game changer. So thank you for that question. That's a great one.
As we look to expand this, we talked about this a little bit the other day when we met. You're going to be getting hopefully better staffed and more people to man this. Could you just tell us a little bit about the process in order to get someone trained to do this type of work, to be one of the full, or hopefully you're going to expand 4.
Right. So we're going to start looking at colleges. Obviously, we're going to put it out. We hope that people from college that have degrees similar to intelligence is another big major in a lot of the colleges. So we're hoping people like that will want to do this. We're going to have to create our own training from scratch. That is what we're going to have to do. We're going to lean on some of the other places. We've already talked to Manatee County Sheriff's Office. They have a lesson plan. We're going to steal their lesson plan, and then we're going to evolve it so it works for our culture and our community. So that's one of the things we're going to do. Now, the other thing that these crime analysts are going to do during downtime, because you're not getting hot calls for service all the time throughout the day, is they're going to be approving the red light cameras, people violating red lights, and they'll be looking, hopefully if the commission approves it, speed cameras in the school zones. So they'll be analyzing that. Having said that, those red light cameras and those speed zones and those school zones all have real cameras in them. So then there we are again with another force multiplier. It's just going to be, this is going to be a game changer for how we do business. The other things that we envision moving forward, and again, we're not the first to the party on this, are drones. So like I said earlier, we have drones. Well, what we envision at some point in the future, a year, 3 years from now, is a call comes out for service, we send a drone to that call immediately to be overwatch and give us eyes in the sky. That's a game changer. And at some point I see in the next 5 years where a call for service that's not a very high priority, maybe it's a noise call. Noise calls are important, but maybe we're super busy and maybe the noise has stopped. Maybe it was a neighbor, playing the stereo too loud. In the future, I see us sending drones to those homes, coming down to the door, making contact, speaking through the drones. Hey, is everything okay? Yeah, we're good. The noise has subsided. Okay, boom, goes back up, and that officer can be back in service or do something else that's prioritized. That's where we are. And again, Chula, California, they're the first of the party on this one. They've really done some groundbreaking work, and we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to see what we can do that works for our culture, our community, and we'll move forward with that. Any other questions?
Barbara?
What is state of the art right now for you is obsolete in 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you budget for that?
So you have to be really smart with your money, and you've got to be, I'm blessed that I have a couple people that work in our agencies. I used to be part of the business back in the day. I just got my mini MBA from Rutgers University because I had a feeling that business was going to start. I already had my master's in emergency management, and then I went back to Rutgers, got a mini MBA from there because I knew that in order to be the CEO of a police department with a 42 to 45, hopefully a $45 million budget, I really had to know my numbers and I really had to know how to negotiate. So I understand the power of negotiating. I know some people think we're in government, that we just lay down and we just give it up. We really don't. But I also have personnel that have run their own businesses because I'm about plug and play. I put the right people in the right seats on the bus And I know that they can leverage and they can negotiate, and they're ruthless, which I love, they're ruthless. But we work these contracts so that they're to our advantage, because we understand there is competition in this space, and we're gonna use that to our advantage, and ultimately to the advantage of the city. Thank you.
I'm gonna take the last question.
Yes,
if I
sir.
may. My head spins about this, and what are your thoughts on piloting, rollouts, timelines? How, I think when we were together, you were talking about hoping March, April next year, but how does that look, and how,
Yeah.
you know, does you sign up 7-Eleven to get black boxes? Or do you sign up Burger Kings or whatever? How do, talk us through.
Yeah,
talk us
so
through.
we're waiting to get approval through the budget. That's number one. So we'll know sometime before October. And then once October 1 comes, then we can start doing our thing. And then we have to put those jobs out to be posted. We have to bring those people in. We have to do interviews. Some of the challenges for the police department is these people are going to get polygraphed, they're going to get drug tested, and there's going to be very in-depth backgrounds. So that's a game changer for a lot of people. They fall by the wayside when we start doing that. So when I tell you we have the very best and the very brightest, I'm telling you we do, because that is a huge filter that removes a lot of people from the equation. That generally takes 3 to 4 months. These cameras start getting put in. The city of Miami just got 300 speed cameras. So there becomes a line and a pecking order as far as time that we can do. But I foresee once hiring's done, and then you have the holidays and Christmas, maybe we onboard these people in January, we start getting training going, we get these cameras up and running, and again, it's probably March and April. Now, as far as the cameras, whatever company that we end up going with, they're the ones that start going door to door, and they do the legwork for us as far as the cameras and integrating that to the system. So that's great. I don't have the bandwidth to send officers out to all these businesses to do that. They do. It's to their benefit, and so they're the ones that handle that.
So you think you could onboard different businesses fairly rapidly, or
Yeah.
you gotta meter it?
It'll be a snowball effect, because once we're up and running, we don't have to meter it. We can take them all on board. There's no system, there's no challenge with that. What you'll see is there will be hesitation. There always is with anything new, right? So part of our job is to really hit social media when we start solving these cases using the information that we're getting from these cameras, these businesses, these red lights, speed cameras. We really need to do that. And that will create that snowball effect moving forward, putting out the numbers, what we're doing, our success rate. So if this real-time operations center is done right, and it's my job to do it right, we can really hit our crime rate numbers. I mean, we're already fortunate and blessed. And I know there's some things that have happened in the last few days, and there's been shootings in certain areas, and people are like, what's going on? This is little Miami. Shootings are down like 30%. It just happened to occur in this little time zone of summertime. Our crime rates, I just pulled the numbers for the zones. For the citywide, we're at 29%, below the 16% that we were last year. So if you put it all together, we're about 35% in 18 months crime drop. And I want to say zone 5, which is a lot of this area, you're at a 30% reduction in crime. So we're really hitting the chunk of it. We've hired the best and brightest, I promise you that. I have a very high bar. You can come to the table, and if you want to see, I'll invite you to the table, but if you can't hit our bar, we're going to let you go, because other agencies will hire you. We have a very high bar. And when I say we are training centric, I mean it. We are training centric. We are all about training. And we're not about embarrassing people in training. That's a thing I never cared for over the course of the years. I didn't want to embarrass anybody at training. I just want to make people better. And we're seeing that come back to us, especially with this generation. I don't know if you all know this, but this generation does not like to be critiqued, right? Right? Everybody got a trophy, right? Everybody got a juicy box, a bag of chocolate chip cookies, and a last place trophy, right? So we can't change that. We can't. We just have to work with it. And because eventually they're going to be the future leaders of this agency. So we have to work with it and make them better. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that with our training, that they're just getting better and better and better. And this real-time operations center is only going to make it that much better. And they're all computer-centric, right? They love all this, they love all this technology. They're gonna eat this up with a spoon.
Well, thank you, Chief. We
Thank you.
really appreciate the time. We appreciate you